hard conversations are hard, right? Like this is not, they're called difficult conversations for a reason, but they're also usually super important. And this book gives you an absolute, like they give you a map and an exercise of like how to write down how you're going to have this conversation. They really break it down step by step and give you concrete tools. Hello, we are coming at you with a bonus episode of Inside Conscience-Driven Leadership, where we're going to do little book reviews.
I'm very excited because books are one of my favorite things.
It's true. For those of you who don't know this, when I moved to Spain, I had to obviously leave behind most of my library, and Julie is who inherited my entire leadership library, which is part of why she's on this podcast right now.
And Hanna, I'm such a nerd. I even have an app where I've scanned every one of my books so I know which books I have, and yours are even separate. I have the Hanna Library of Leadership that is kept separate so that I know which ones you gave me, so that I know that I can talk your ear off about them.
I am very, very honored by this. I will admit I don't read as much as I probably should or want to. I don't have the strength for anybody who's a strengths thing, which I'm sure you do, Julie. I think I know that about you, your input. Input people love their books. My husband loves his books. But I do read enough that when something sticks out to me, it's very sticky. So yeah, those are some of the books that I'm going to be sharing today, are the things that were life-altering for me.
Well, and there are different kinds of readers. I think that we could always be comparing ourselves to the reader that we could be, but instead, if we just settle into the coziness of the books we want to read and know we need to read, and we take the time it takes to read them, then we're going to enjoy reading more.
I love your approach to things. You're such a good influence on me, Julie.
Yay.
Maybe don't, the advice I often give is stop shooting all over yourself. Maybe I don't need to worry about how many books I should read and just enjoy the ones I do. Thank you.
I love that. All right. The first book that I recommend to CDL leaders is Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price. Are you familiar?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I've read it.
Okay. I feel like this is a book where even just reading the title is I can breathe out. I'm like, whew, laziness does not exist. And I think it would really be relevant to CDL leaders because it's a lot about how we talk about laziness as this personal trait, as this thing that is a deficit that you have. But laziness doesn't exist. And usually it's systems that are exhausting people and that are creating burnout. And if we stop thinking about laziness as a thing and as a thing that people have, and instead think about the systems and how they are running through people and how they're making people run at a pace that isn't helpful to them, then we come up to a better society.
I love that. I feel like that is a super prevalent problem in Western thinking, is to pathologize people for their behavior. That's going to lead really well into my next one. But really quickly, I need to find a cartoon. For anybody listening who can't see this is a podcast, lots of people can't see. This is a comic of two adults who look kind of sciencey, right? Wearing glasses, taking notes, looking at a koala who is trembling while hugging a stump of a eucalyptus tree in a field of eucalyptus tree stumps. And one is saying to the other, "This young koala has a mental health problem." Just as an example of how we like to pathologize things in people that are perfectly natural responses to systems that overwhelm them.
Yep. I think that sums it up pretty well.
Nice. So that is the thesis there of laziness does not exist.
That's what I took out. That was the big thing for me. And it's nice because it lifts it off your shoulders, but it also changes how you think about other people and systems and how we find a better path forward with work. Because I love work. I enjoy working, but that it's coming back to that should thing of, well, if I love work, shouldn't I be working all the time? No.
Yeah. I have always kept a bed or something I can sleep on in my office. Like that's been true almost always because sometimes I need to sleep. After I present, I have to like if I'm facilitating a room, I have to there's no option other than Hanna. I put it on my calendar, nap. But sometimes I will admit it happened today. I totally was like I could fight with some work that I need to do, or I got an hour. I could take a little snooze before my podcast and build the energy up. So good lead in.
For me, it's walking. If I take a walk, I'm going to be a better leader.
I love that. So yeah, I love. So what's the thing, listener? What's the thing that if you do it, it makes you a better leader, but from an outside perspective, someone might accuse you of laziness or being idle. What's the unproductive thing that is actually productive for you? Can't wait to hear. That leads me perfectly into my first recommendation, which is Burnout by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. I think this is the most important book probably written in I guess it was in the 21st century, but in the last century. Burnout is a must read or listen. It's short, it's funny, and it's super practical. Emily and Amelia Nagoski are sisters. Neither of them are business people. One is an orchestra conductor, I think with a PhD, and the other is a sex therapist or like intimacy thinker who's written some other really fabulous works. But they really break down how burnout is not just exhaustion. It kind of really follows what you were saying. Burnout is the result of chronic stress that we have not completed processing because we think when we name the fact that we're stressed, that somehow resolves the stress. We're like, well, I know I'm stressed. Therefore, it can go away. And they outline how stress is a process and we have to do something to move through the process and release the stress. And they give lots of great examples that are very easy. They do it early in the book, which I appreciate. But, we need some kind of physical processing for stress, whether that's movement, crying, breathing, laughing, not just mental understanding. And then the thing I admire about them so much is they name the patriarchy in a way that's accessible and funny. Like, as somebody who followed Ani DeFranco around for a decade, Ani DeFranco sings about the patriarchy. If you don't know Ani DeFranco, but it's a hard thing to talk about, and it's a hard thing to understand and to name and to see. And they break it down in a way that is not heavy feminist theory, but is accessible and understandable and lighthearted and funny. And I haven't listened to the audiobook, but everyone who has tells me it's a great listen and super funny. So yeah. And the cure for burnout is not just doing less, but creating conditions for safety, meaning, and completing your stress cycle. So I recommend this book to everyone. It's one of the few books I carried with me in my suitcase to Spain.
That is amazing. I've read that one too, and I'm a big fan as well. That's a great one.
Excellent. What's your next book?
My next is actually a twofer. I recommend Jenny Odell's two books. The first one is How to Do Nothing, and the next one is Saving Time. And they're really great to read together. They take a little bit of time, so they're ones that can maybe sit on your bedside table for a little while, but it's so worth it. How to Do Nothing is about the attention economy and how now there's so many things vying for our attention that to kind of tie it into CDL leadership, I think that really pulls away from your time to be curious. Because if there are always things trying to take over your brain space, like social media, constant news cycles, all these things, it leaves less space for you to wonder about the world around you, to be in your own head and be curious. And so finding that balance is really embedded in this book. The next book she wrote was Saving Time, and it looks at different ways that time has been perceived. So it's thinking about things not just chronologically or through a clock, but really kind of breaking down and reminding us that in itself is a social construct. So when we think about wasting time, you can't actually waste time. Time isn't something you can waste, but it kind of comes back to that how you frame that world changes how you work within it. Both of these books, I loved how philosophical they were, but also very approachable. And I think Jenny Odell is a beautiful writer. I love how she writes. And so these are books that I kind of go into in my mind sometimes, especially when I want to be reminded of types of writing that I love.
I love that. That's awesome. It's a cool thing. One of the pieces of science my husband introduced to me recently. I live near the sea, and this is something that we have aspired to for a really long time because we both grew up in Florida near the beach. But evidently, watching water that has some motion in it, like the sea or a lake, is it puts your brain into a state that is really restorative and creative because it's engaging enough that you can keep watching it and feel like you are looking at something, but it's not so engaging that your brain can't wander off and do other things. And so I feel like that's related here. Like one of the reasons we struggle to do nothing is because we feel like we need to do something. And so finding something that is genuinely not engaging enough to distract your brain, but engaging enough to bring you a sense of peace, like watching flames, watching water, watching clouds move in the sky. These are things that give your brain more spaciousness.
I love it. And I'm here for it.
I will go from there to Think Again by Adam Grant, because this is about our ability to rethink and revise our beliefs. This is something we talked about on our previous podcast, that we can get attached to the solution and that will block us from other solutions. And your amazing coaching approach, that when someone brings you a solution, you say, that's a great solution, we should totally do that. But first, what are some alternatives in case it doesn't work out? Just training that skill in rethinking. And it's around culture and safety to rethink, to admit when you've made a mistake, to have conflict and disagreement, and that confidence is something that comes from flexibility and learning, not from I am right and you must listen to me.
I love that because I think it comes back to that idea that an authority figure is always right. And they're not always right because they're always right. They're always right because that is sometimes easier, because then you don't have to go through the process of knowing why you do things and all of that. So I love that flexibility. Something that I've been working on lately that I think really helps me is figuring out how to hold things lightly, because things are so important and have so much gravity to me that if I'm not able to hold them lightly, I may not be able to have that flexibility and to see it in different ways. So that kind of metaphor of how to see things has been really helpful to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a challenge for all of us who lead from a place of responsibility for making the world better for people, and not from just ambition to lead people because it's what we want to do. Right? Responsibility is heavy. We feel responsible for people. It's harder to hold lightly how our actions impact other people when we know the weight of consequence.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
What's your next one?
My next book is Invisible Women: Exposing Data Bias in a World Designed for Men by Criado Perez. Are you familiar with this one, Hanna?
It is on my bookshelf. I have not read it yet, but I
Really?
bought it. It's one of the first books I bought at an English bookshop in Madrid when I got to Spain.
I'm a big fan because it really looks at how data has been used to set up a world that is really centered around maleness, and sometimes not even that. Because, one of my favorite examples from the book is that basically they created, the kind of the uniform to use, and they did it based on averages. But then when they looked around, they couldn't find anyone that was actually those average measurements. That average didn't actually exist, which means the average wasn't even a good way to describe that data, but that's what all of that had been based on. So when you think about, oh gosh, well, these clothes don't fit me well, it may be based on an average that doesn't exist. And so being mindful about what has gone into data and how that has shaped the world around us, because we live in a built environment. How did we build that, and who has it been built for? This book is phenomenal.
Very cool. I read a piece once about the healthy temperature of 98.6, and that is based on averages of temperatures somebody took in a German hospital in the early 20th century. There was one document, so they averaged them all. Healthy is 98.6.
I love data, and that's why it's so important we understand it. and we're thoughtful about it. I think one of my favorite statistics is when people talk about, I don't know, this is probably something that was on like the back of Laffy Taffy a lot. And I just remember hearing it a lot, which was like how many spiders you swallow while you sleep every year. But how would you know? How would you know? How would you actually study that? It's not a real thing. Someone made it up and then it ended up on the back of like a Laffy Taffy wrapper at some point. And so poking at those things is really fun and illuminating. And this book is a great fit for it.
Awesome. I look forward to it. I will pull it off the shelf and put it somewhere I can pick it up and read it sometimes.
Amazing. All right. What do you have next?
My next one is Crucial Conversations, How to Talk When the Stakes Are High. And this one's by Kerry Patterson, among others. I like this book because hard conversations are hard, right? Like this is not, they're called difficult conversations for a reason, but they're also usually super important. And this book gives you an absolute, like they give you a map and an exercise of like how to write down how you're going to have this conversation. They really break it down step by step and give you concrete tools to understand why the conversation is important and how to undo the natural leaps that your mind is going to do that are not helpful in these tense moments. Because we know about humans that social rejection is read as a physical threat. And so crucial conversations are difficult because they are happening with somebody who's important to you. And there's a chance that if it goes badly, the relationship will be damaged. And they're crucial because really what the relationship needs is to have this conversation because the relationship is important and you can strengthen the relationship through the conversation if you navigate it well. But since most of us don't have the skills to navigate difficult conversations well, they often go badly, which reinforces the idea that we just should avoid these topics, even though avoiding them is damaging the relationship as well.
Yeah, because I think that just as often that it goes bad, it just doesn't happen. And then it's just in the air and never gets resolved. And that's terrible too.
I think more often it doesn't happen because when it does happen, it goes badly. And until you get good at those conversations, because it's just a skill. It's just a skill like anything, right? Like you can learn to play the piano, you can learn to speak Spanish, you can learn to have hard conversations. It just takes some practice. But it helps if someone shows you the steps. And this book is, I just think, really excellent guidance on how to have important and hard conversations.
I love that. That makes sense. That does remind me of something my flute teacher told me once, which is practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanent. So if you practice crucial conversations poorly, that is probably how it's going to be for you. So how you practice something really matters.
Excellent. Okay, you've got one more?
I do have one more. And this one was a surprise to me. I'm actually very excited to say it because I think I found a CDL leader in literature.
In the wild?
In the wild.
Who is it?
Okay. My next book recommendation is Charlotte's Web. Like Charlotte is totally a CDL leader.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to reread this.
This little spider, you just think about the ripples that go through a classroom when kids read this book. How many kids come out vegetarians, not wanting to eat pigs, or like suddenly loving spiders? The book itself is kind of about a change that this spider wants to make. It knows that this pig is up for slaughter, and she wants to change the system so that that pig doesn't get slaughtered. And so she does that with the tool she has, which is her web. And so you have the culture change and the systems change in the book, but you have it as a ripple effect outside the book too.
Wow. That's so fun.
I know.
I like it. Okay, no, I think we have to end on that one because it's just so much more fun than any like businessy book that I'm going to follow it with. Like I think we all get to, between season 1 and season 2, let's all go reread Charlotte's Web because that'll be a super fun one.
Yeah. Once I thought about, oh my gosh, how can I be more of a leader like Charlotte? Like I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. This is very this is really exciting. And, I was like, well, I should probably read synopses just to make sure I was right. And there was one synopsis that was like, it took an ugly, insignificant spider to save a pig. And I was like, how dare you? That's fighting words. Don't talk about my spider that way. She is perfect. So clearly, this is very personal to me.
Yes, I love it. Thank you. That's perfect. And I love that we brought up spiders twice. And we all know Charlotte's not stupid enough to climb in your mouth and be swallowed in the night. So no one worry about swallowing spiders.
No.
They lead change.
Yes, I do love spiders. This is great.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, this has been super duper fun. I think we should have this as a tradition to wrap up every season to have our little book share.
That is my dream. Thank you, Hanna.
Yay.
Yay.
Well, thank you so much for season 1. This has been just too much fun, and I can't wait to come back in a little while and do it again, answering the questions and comments that we have undoubtedly received hundreds of in our email at podcast@conscience-driven-leadership.com. I need to send another shout out to our amazing, fantastic producer who keeps us organized and helps us look and sound good and generally just is fun to hang out with, Anna Miller. Not me, I know. My name is Hanna Miller. Her name is Anna Miller. No H's at all, as far as I know. But yeah, this has been just a wonderful, super experience, and I can't wait to do it again.
We'll see you next season.
Bye.